we're on the same team as Brittney Landrum. Alyssa signed both of us. And so obviously I've known Britt since we started the business. I remember going, Sarah, you'll remember this. I remember going to our first event in Indiana and sitting on the floor and up on stage where all the presidential diamonds on our team, and you were up there and we were just I have pictures, us taking pictures and just being so excited to learn from you. And it's just fun because we've been learning from you for almost 6 years. And I'm just really excited to have you on here tonight. And then we've been in a mastermind together this year, so I've gotten to learn from you even more. And I'm just excited. You inspire me so much. So Britt, do you just want to get started by just telling us your story? Oh, sorry. I think I have to unmute you. Sorry about that.
I think we're good now. Thank you. So I first want to say thank you for accepting me in my pajamas with freshly washed hair and no makeup. So one thing I'll be talking to you guys about tonight is that I've done a really good job the last at least 6 months, if not longer, getting a good schedule in place. And with that comes Tuesdays are date nights and Thursdays are girl nights. And the only reason why this Zoom actually worked tonight is because Zella goes to bed at 8:30. So I'm not interfering with girls night, but girls night tonight included facials and pajamas and doing her nails. So that's why you're getting this, Brittney. So thank you for accepting me like this. I'm literally in my pajamas. So a little bit about myself. Yes. In August, it was 6 years. I can't believe it's been that long, but I'm going to tell you from the beginning, my favorite parts of my story. And that is that I came from a cold message. I don't know that I would have ever gone to someone and actually said that I needed this, because from the outside in, yes, people knew I was a struggling single mom, but I had a really good dental job. So I don't think people knew how badly I was struggling. So Alyssa sent me a message that said, "Hey girl, you should join my It Works team." And I said, "No, thank you." The other part of my favorite part of our story is that she didn't let my no stop where she was going. She kept going and I kept watching. And 3 months after I told her no, I watched her earn a $10,000 bonus. And here I was, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes my groceries were going on a credit card. Oftentimes when I was going to put gas in my tank, I would put $5 or $10. I couldn't actually go and fill it all the way up. And so I remember laying there thinking, okay, something's got to give. And I actually saw a quote on Pinterest that said, "What you're not changing, you're choosing." And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was 10:30 on a Thursday. I know exactly where I was at. I was laying in my son's fire truck bed, and I sent her some text messages. And I asked her 3 questions. I said, number 1, I don't have the $99, but I'm willing to put it on a credit card if you can promise me that I'll make it back. Number 2, can I earn some free product? I know a lot of you are moms, or maybe, take care of grandmas, or, take care of guardians, take care of kids. And that oftentimes we will sacrifice so that they can have everything. And I love It Works products, but I feel like 6 years ago, they were more cosmetic. And so the 2 things that I wanted was hair, skin, and nails and stretch mark cream. And as a single mom, I couldn't justify, yes, I don't like my stretch marks, but if I'm having to put groceries on a credit card, should I really be worried about my stretch marks? But in my mind, if I could earn them for free, then I could justify it. And then the 3rd question changed my entire life. And I said, if I don't like it, can I quit at any time? And here were her responses. Yes, you'll make your $99 back as long as you follow my lead. Yes, you'll be earning a shopping spree, but if you're already thinking about quitting, this probably isn't for you. And it kind of made me step back, but I'm so thankful she said that, because when I said yes, which ended up being just 30 minutes later, I really said yes. I didn't tiptoe say yes. I was yes, I'm going all in and I'm doing all the things. So I know I took a little bit longer telling my first part of the story, because I think there's so many objections there that sometimes we don't reach out to people, or we don't offer this, when really we need to be more confident in how we say things, instead of being instead of someone saying, "Can I quit at any time?" "Oh yeah, you can quit at any time. This really isn't hard work." Well, then when you sign them, they don't work, right? If you have to beg them to sign, you have to beg them to work. And I'm just so thankful she set that standard, because that's what she got out of me, was the standard that she set. So to fast forward, within 10 months, I had tripled my dental income. 2 months later, I was able to retire. And then a year after that, I was remarried and have since then retired my husband. So like, it's just done all the things. But I always say my because of it works is I used to have to say yes to things that I wanted to say no to. But now I can say no to things that I used to have to say yes to, and vice versa. Like, it's just having the options is like my because of it works.
Oh, I love that. The options. And I love that you gave us all of the objections. Like, it's just obviously Alyssa's who enrolled me. So she's always going to be like the most inspirational person to me in the business. But it's true. I mean, I remember asking her some of the same questions. And, you know, she was very upfront about you're going to need to be on an auto shipment because that's really going to benefit your business. And I just remember like being like, I can barely pay to start. I can't imagine how I'm going to pay for that, but I guess I'm just going to have to make enough money to do it. And so that was my mindset. And so that just really challenges me in the best way. I love that you shared that. So you've been really open about a mindset switch that happened in your business. You know, was it at the end of last year? Kind of, I would love for you to just dive into that because you've like exploded your income. You've exploded your team and the way you build the business, but beyond that, the difference in you is really visible, and the difference in how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you present yourself on social media. So share that with us, like dig into that with us. Cause I have a feeling there's some people on here that might be feeling like they need to flip a switch.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would say is to the people that don't know my story, you know, I came in, I did the things, and within 4 months, I had earned a $10,000 bonus. But I did everything plus more that Alyssa asked me to do. I didn't choose what felt good and not do the things that were uncomfortable. And actually, I sacrificed a lot. I'm gonna tell this story because I think it's important to know. You know, I'll never forget, I was dating my now husband, and my son, I had to share time with his dad. And I'll never forget, I had a bag on my shoulder, and my now husband was sitting on the couch, and he literally goes, "Is this how it's always going to be?" And what he was talking about was that I was working 40 to 50 hours at my dental job. And when I wasn't at my dental job and I didn't have Ty, I was doing launch parties. Guys, I don't, even to this day, I'm better now, but like 6 years ago, I didn't like talking in front of people. I didn't like doing launch parties, but it was one of those things where it was like, choose your hard. Well, hard was not being able to take off with Ty when he was sick. And Ty was sick a lot when he was little. And so I remember looking at Matt and I lost my mind. I was like, I'll quit right now, but you're going to go get 3 jobs because I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom one day, or you're going to go let me do this. And, you know, obviously I shouldn't have maybe been speaking to him like that, but I know it was like one of those moments where when I left, it was only a few months later and I retired myself. And like, we joke about those things now of like, I'm so glad I just kept pushing. But the reason why I'm sharing that part of the story is I've been successful since day one because I was not afraid to work. But here's where there's a difference. I think there's a difference where success feels good and success doesn't feel good. And I've had it both ways. And what I want to talk to you guys about is finding success that feels good. And that's what I found in 2020 and now in 2021. And it was a conversation that I had with Alyssa at the end of 2019. I purposely did not enroll a distributor in October, November, and December of 2019 because I just felt lost. I had built this team, but I had not built leaders. And what I mean by that is naturally, I'm a red yellow. So I'm a red when it comes, like no one has to motivate me. I know why I said yes, but I was leading as a yellow, meaning if they weren't coming to me, I wasn't holding them to a higher standard. So oftentimes what would happen is when I would be like, okay, I helped this person to get Ruby, and now I'm going to go like help someone else. The Ruby didn't even know how to maintain because I had done it for them. And I wasn't doing it for them to control. I was doing it for them because I wanted them to see that this was real. A lot of it was actually belief in the business. I was afraid, will these people actually do what it takes? Because I knew what I had to sacrifice for the first 10 months of this business. And so what I would say is I went to Alyssa at the end of 2019 and I said, and here's the thing, I actually I'm not telling you not to complain to your upline, but I'm also going to be like tough love Brittney, and that's just what I do. So like, love me there. Okay. I am tough because I care, not because I'm mean. I never complained to Alyssa ever. Why? Because I always knew why I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so sometimes there's like, you can't look at, say, why is this person happening for them and it's not happening for me? I always knew why. Behind, if someone grabbed my phone, I always knew why I always knew what the missing piece was. So I couldn't like verbalize that. But in 2019, I went to her at the end and I asked her, I just told her this. I said, I don't know that I can do this forever because I can't live this way. And what I mean by that is, and it wasn't a bad thing, I love this business. And anyone that like watches me, you probably can tell that I genuinely love what I do. Like it comes easy when I talk about it. The posts flow because I talk from my heart. The problem is the business had taken over my life. Because where like my son likes to do Legos and Xbox and my husband may like to scroll at ESPN, this is my hobby. But with that, there became no disconnect. And then I also felt like I was spinning my wheels and not getting anywhere. So I went to Alyssa and I said, I don't know that I can live like this because this is always in my hand. And I said, I'm not saying I'm quitting. What I'm saying is I can't do it like this. So I have to figure something out. And she's honestly, it's funny, she's not very rough and tough, but she was with me that day. And she said, if you were working the entire time that phone was in your hand, you'd already be Black Diamond. Like you're not working. And she also said, who from It Works has ever said you have to work like that? You've done that to yourself. And here was the kicker, guys. Have you ever gone to bed feeling guilty that you've either put your family on the back burner or you feel guilty that you've actually not done what you were supposed to do? So this is in your hand, but you have nothing to show for it. That's what was happening to me. I was getting up early. I was staying up late. So I was not getting any sleep, but I had nothing to show for it because I was like scrolling, looking, like doing a little of this, doing a little of this, doing a little of this, never actually finishing a task. So that I wasn't getting results. And she's like, what is it that you feel like you're not enrolling? And I said, I want to like have leaders. I want to, when I enroll them, I feel like I can confidently. And she's like, what makes you think you can? You, and she even said, she's like, Brittney, you're a good lead by example leader. She's like, you never really ask anyone to do things that you're not willing to do. She was like, so just go set up a plan. So that's exactly what I did. But here's the thing. I started working on myself. Have you guys ever read a self-development book? And I'm not proud of this. Have you ever read a self-development book, but when you read it, you're like, oh, so-and-so needs to hear this, or so-and-so needs to read this, or so-and-so, whatever. I was reading self-development books for other people. So all that was doing is making me more nasty. Honestly, it was making me more like bitter for the fact that so-and-so needed to be reading this book, which honestly made me resent the business even more because nothing ever felt good. So what I started doing is I started finding books that aligned with what I needed. So for instance, one of the first one was Atomic Habits. I went to Alyssa and she was like, where do you think you're messing up? And I said, well, to be honest, I work in my bed, I work on the couch, I work on the kitchen table, I work on I had an office and I didn't even work here. She was like, well, that's number one. She said, because even when I tell you to put business hours in place, if you're used to working on the couch and now your phone's away, but you're on the couch, your mind thinks you need to be working. Like I couldn't even disconnect. Even if the phone wasn't with me, my mind was still like, well, when I get back. Or have you ever, like, this is awful, guys, I'm just being very transparent with you, but have you ever like watched your kids and you're not even in the moment, you're like, ooh, this would be a perfect post, or ooh, this would be a perfect story, or oh, that, I mean, like, I wasn't even living my life. I was living this, what's the next business thing I can do to connect to someone else? So Atomic Habits changed everything, and Built to Last helped. Those two books I read at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. But I started reading self-development that fit what I needed, not what everyone else needed. And I don't want to get off track. So if I ever like, you're just going to have to stop me. Cause like, once I get like super into like where I'm going, I mean, we could end up talking about Mars in a second. Like, that's just my life. Okay. Like, this is literally my real world. So what changed everything is I truly focused on me. And I'm talking journaling, self-development, devotional scripture for an hour for myself before anything else started. Then what naturally happened was I felt so good that if things weren't going okay, it didn't rock my boat. And I'm actually going to share something that is crazy. What you guys wouldn't know is like the last week and a half, I've been dealing with some massive depression. Okay. And I've not felt like this in a really long time. And if you like go to my social media, you'll see that I said something yesterday about it. But what's crazy is the depression used to cripple me and like paralyze me. And now it doesn't. It's like I can recognize it. Now I can't like snap myself out of it. And I know like maybe in a couple days I'll wake up and it'll be gone because that's like what I'm used to my entire life. But like I'm still showing up and I'm still doing the things, but I'm also giving myself grace. Right? So if like you go to my stories, they're different. And if you go to my posts, they're different. But I'm still doing the things because guess what? If I was working a normal job, I would still have to be doing them too. The only difference is I'm doing them where it feels right in my heart, not feel like I'm being someone else. I don't know if I could recognize this had I not been working on myself for the last year. So I would say most of the shift that happened was I truly started growing myself instead of worrying about everyone else.
I am loving this, Brittney. I'm going to hop in here. I've got a question for you. This has just been, okay, my husband's taking care of it. All of a sudden, they've been quiet for like an hour and all of a sudden, mom, like really right now? Okay, great. That's perfect for me. I, first of all, just want to commend the transparency of this journey for me. This is we like transparency. We're here for it. Like this is the level that is our favorite. I feel like Claire has led a really good example for how transparency is just powerful. And so hearing your story and like hearing the realness that you're sharing is just totally speaking our heart. This is our love language right here. Like we're a safe people. We appreciate it. We love it. And it's just amazing. So thank you. I want to hear more about how you felt like you went from enrolling people, doing the work for them, like trying to like show them like this is what it can do. This is what can happen. This is like it works for real. I promise I'm going to do it for you, to creating leaders, and that mindset shift followed by like what actions you took in order to make that happen in your business.
Yeah, I would say number one is that I made it very clear that this was work from the beginning. And I'm going to give you like a silly example. When I first started the 5 a.m. club, I was scared to post about it because I was scared that I would push people away if they thought they had to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. Right? Like those are the kind of things that went through my mind. And I'll never forget, Cammie talked about this a couple of years ago. She was like, and this was a couple of years ago, but it stuck with me. She was like, you all are wondering why you guys are enrolling that think they can sit by the pool and make money when those are the pictures that you're showing them. You're showing them, hey, enrolling 2 distributors while you have like a drink in your hand sitting by the pool. And she was like, yes, you can work that business that way, but you have to show them the grind too. And I'm going to go into a next little thing that Alyssa told me. As I said, why do you think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, so don't take this the way that it's going to come out, but I just have to put it out there the way it's going to come out. I said, why do you feel like you enroll a different type of people? She said, well, one good thing about you, Brittney, is you're so real and you're so relatable that every single person in the world feels like they can come to you. The bad part of that comes with that is that you are attracting people that they just want to be your friend. They don't actually want to work the business. And as much as that's amazing, and I love to do ministry that way, it's also draining. So like my gift is gift of mercy. And so the good part about that is that I love serving other people. The bad news is the enemy can use that against me and bring me tons of people that need tons of help. And it's like draining because I carry that burden. And so she said, you have to start becoming the people that you are wanting to work with. And she's like, I'm not, and I was honest with her. I was like, but here's the deal. Like, I can't write like you write. I love the way that you can dress yourself, but like I'm hoodie and leggings. Like, I don't know that I want to be someone else. And she said, no, I think it's just show them the grind, show them what they're going to be doing. And so number one, I from the beginning, I tell them, in my thing, it says, these are the tasks. And if you want to make money with this and you want to see success, you're going to have to be consistent. I will break it all down step by step, but you're going to have to do all of them to see success. So before they even join me, they don't think they're going to be posting once a day. They know what they're coming into. The other thing is, I also believe it's having a system that a new person feels confident enrolling. Because sometimes I think the lack of duplication doesn't come from lack of people wanting to do what we do. It comes from the fear that they can't do it as well as we do, especially those of us that look like we have it together and we've been doing it a long time. So what I realized is I just had to have a system so that if someone that I signed today happened to sign someone in 5 days, they could duplicate what I did. And the person they enrolled thought they knew what they were doing, even though they were coming and they're like, okay, they said this. What do I say back? I'm like, now you're going to say this. That was the other thing, is I stopped doing it for them. So that's what I would say, set the standard, but from day one, let them feel qualified to lead.
I love how you just talk about that. I mean, I think especially I see so many people that are such amazing, like leaders and like the hustlers in this business, but to think that, you know, I don't know, sometimes it's not easy to make that crossover. So I feel like you just spoke to so many people tonight and just, you know, teaching how to set the standard and then show them exactly how to reach the standard. Like that is like blew my mind. So thank you for that. Another question I have. So I again appreciate how open you were, that you're like, listen, I'm like not in the best place right now. I'm like dealing with some stuff. There's a cloud there. Like it's a reality. What are some things, because I know you're not alone in that, and I know that there are people on this Zoom tonight, like including myself, that can benefit from somebody being open about that, and then also just sharing like, how do you move forward? Like you said, you might step out of it tonight, you might step out of it tomorrow, like you're not totally sure. How do you keep going within that? How do you make it feel like it's not, you know, something that's going to throw you off? I like how you shared, I'm able to be different and be myself in the good times and the hard times. But what does that look like for you? What books are you reading? What self-development specific, do you change your self-development in those times? Like talk a little bit about that, because we've talked a lot in Freedom Legacy just about a hard year and how do we deal with that, and that resonated with a lot of people. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes with knowing that, like, I know it's the enemy. So if I don't keep moving, I'm really just letting him win, right? The other thing that I would say, let me just give you this as an example. We had 3 Zooms back to back. So like Mondays and Wednesdays were slammed. And this was also a God thing. So like while the enemy's working, God's also working too. It just so happened that this wasn't my week to plan. So like on Monday, when I'm always on there and usually always interviewing, I ended up not being on the list. And guess what? I fell asleep in my daughter's bed, and like, I was okay with that. And I'm going to try like not to get emotional, but like, it's just part of it. Like you just have to give yourself grace. But last night we had 3 Zooms and I needed to be on the 9 o'clock one because it was an opportunity one. And so what did I do? I showed up to the 8 one to mentally prepare. I listened to like the power hour. I kind of did the things. But before that, I got on a call with Trista. And like, here's the thing, we got on the call. I just told her, I was like, here's the deal. I'm really struggling. And I said, what's crazy is right now my chest is super tight. So bear with me because my mind is racing. I have a list that I want to talk. And she's like, Britt, it's fine. And then I started talking. I got really excited about showing her like this new charting thing we were talking about. And then all of a sudden I was like, she's like, you're good. And I was like, I'm sorry. It just hit me again. And the call was only 20 minutes, but like, I thought I was going to start bawling. Right. But here's the thing. The second that I put it, I think there's a difference of putting it out there in a negative way, like complaining, and putting it out there in a way of like, this is what I'm dealing with, but this is also what I'm working with. Because the amount of people that have messaged me and said, hey sis, thank you for always showing up. Like, to be honest, I was hesitant to share because we are running so fast that I was afraid for my team to see it. But I think their respect for me just went up like 10 times more, right? So here's the other thing. Do I switch what I'm doing? No. So like right now, like I'm finishing Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I have my journal. I'm doing Prayer of Jabez devotional. I'm almost done with that. And I have like my Bible. Okay. So like, this is what it is right now. And for me, as bad as it sounds, and it may not be the right answer, I didn't change books, but I also am doing it to check it off my list, but not like check it off the list to say I did it. But I know that if I don't do it, I'm only pushing myself farther and farther behind. But here's the deal. I usually do it at 5 a.m. I just couldn't get up this morning. So I started that Zoom at 5 a.m. this morning. I turned the video off. I set that on my nightstand and I didn't do it until 9 a.m. until like the world settled down. But my whole thing is, I think I recognize of like, give yourself grace, but don't let him win. Give yourself grace, but don't let him win. Letting him win is not doing it at all. It's letting him win isn't, oh, well, for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, you've done it at 5 a.m. So you're a failure if you did it at 9. No. I'm not a failure. I'm showing up when so many people wouldn't have, right? So it's also like looking, and what's funny is like TikTok, I don't ever miss a day. So the 3 that I'm posting today are ones I had in my draft. Why do I have them in my draft? Not for days of depression. Like I wasn't expecting that. They're for days where I'm so busy enrolling new distributors, but now I'm laughing like, okay, I guess you knew that this day was coming. So that's why I made all those on that other day. I didn't know why I was making them. I was just like, oh, wait, I found another sound. So it's almost like be so prepared that for me, it would feel worse not to keep doing the things. And also, if you look at my social media today, normally I show my face nonstop. Today, 2 of my posts didn't. It had my hand. Yesterday, it had my coffee mugs. I just wasn't in a place to like take a selfie. So I didn't take a selfie, but I still did those things because I have people not only wanting me to show up for them, but I have to show up for myself. And so I think it comes down to having a plan.
Oh, that's really good. Claire, I don't have any other questions, I don't think, but I just wanted to say also that beeping noise, I swear to you, just started right when the Zoom started. And I knew I was going to have to talk. I don't even know where it is, but it's an alarm with a low battery. I apologize. I'm doing really well today. I just wanted to, I feel like a big takeaway that I had was just how you are such a powerhouse. I love that red yellow combination. And I feel like people don't always talk about, like, if they're red, I just appreciate how you talk really highly about your yellow. Like as a yellow myself, I'm seeing a lot of like really good qualities of a yellow coming out in you. And I just wanted to affirm that for anybody else who's on here. I know that there's some yellows on here. I know there's an Enneagram 2 Miss Emily that's on here. And just, I feel like you're speaking life into a lot of us tonight, that just, you are so personable and so real, and you show the work. And I feel like sometimes it's flip-flop. Sometimes people show the work, but they aren't personal and real. And other times people are just too personal and real and they don't show the work. And I appreciate that you're showing us how they have to go hand in hand in order to find the people that are going to be leaders within your organization. So this has been really good. Claire, I don't have any other questions.
Well, real quick, I want to add something based on what you said, and maybe I feel like someone on here needs to hear it. does anyone on here, like drop a 1 in the chat if anyone has ever felt not qualified to lead or you don't feel like a good leader? Okay. I hope this helps, but I will tell you when in those moments, it was because I wasn't doing the things or I wasn't doing all of the things. So to be honest, I felt guilty. Like I didn't feel qualified to lead because I knew behind closed doors, I actually wasn't doing the things that I was telling them to do. Now, I'm not saying all of them because if you look on my social media the last 6.5 years, you may find 10 days that I've not posted. That's how much I'm consistent, but posting's easy for me. The messaging was hard. So if you took my phone for 2 years straight in the middle where things got rough, I wasn't doing those, but I was telling everyone else to do it. Well, no wonder I was irritated when no one was getting results because I wasn't getting results. So they were like, well, does that make sense? All of a sudden in 2020, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop. And here's actually what happened. I lost a lot of my team in 2020. And so for some of you, I want that to inspire you, not to inspire you that it's going to happen or will happen or could happen. I want it to inspire you to it doesn't have to be the end of the road. Right. So for me, if people weren't going to work, whether I did or not, well, why wouldn't I start working to meet the new people that I was supposed to help? So I stopped focusing on what everyone else was doing. Now I always made sure to look back and be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what's working. But I could confidently say that. A side note, and this, I actually told some of my new team this, I said, guys, you aren't going to believe this, but I used to lead my own team trainings. And I would say, let's say you guys were my team and I would be like, I know most of you guys don't like me. It's so funny. Sideline teams will ask me for my tips, but I don't hear from you guys. I was almost speaking that into existence. Now, was that my reality? Yeah, I had sideline sisters coming to me being like, oh my gosh, my team loves you. And I'm like, I felt not loved by my team. But I think I had set that up myself. Sometimes I think it was in my mind. And I know I'm probably sounding like, you're probably thinking that, gosh, this girl is like a mess. But at the end of 2019, I was like, hold on a second. Why do you keep showing up a way that if you don't like it, go fix it? And I told myself, you know what? Maybe they don't like me. And here's the thing. No, not all of them didn't like me. It may have been a handful, right? But in my mind, I had made it this big deal. And I was like, okay, but maybe they don't always respect me because I don't follow through. Maybe they've heard Brittney say she was going to do something one too many times and her not do it, that's why they're not showing up. And maybe that's some of you. Maybe you've actually made posts, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then you don't. Well, your followers lose respect. But you don't have to let that be the end of the road. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? Anyone I sign today doesn't know the old Brittney. They don't know that I used to not follow through. They don't know that I used to say this or do this. I'm like, you know what? For right now, I'm going to start showing up. And here's what's crazy. The floodgates, the doors of you've been obedient. They literally just started pouring in. Now, does it mean that every person that signs with me works? No. But guess what? When I sign them, I know I can be like, oh, you said host vote not works. Get mine up. And I'm like, does yours look like this? Or what about this? Instead of being like, well, let me see what you're doing. Because I had nothing to show for it. Now I have everything to show for. I'm like, let me show you screenshots of what I did today. It's a different part of leadership when you're actually doing the things. The other thing that I want to go into is I took the timeline off, which took the pressure away, which made this more fun. Something that's hard about this business is we don't get paid to do the tasks, but you actually do get paid to do the tasks. Sometimes it's like back pay. So I started telling myself, I'm actually getting paid on if I complete my tasks or not. So when I would do the TikTok or when I would make the post or when I would add to my stories, I used to make the story and be like, oh, oh, I hope this works. And I hope I sign distributors from it. Well, there was so much resentment and like, how many times, drop a 2 in the chat, have you ever done host to post and you're like, this isn't going to work anyways. My last 10 host to post haven't signed anyone. Well, here's my thing. Your host to post aren't going to work if you think they're not going to work. And I was poisoning my own efforts I was putting out there. I was like, okay, hold on. I got to switch my gears. I got to make this like I'm in control. I'm having fun. I'm in power here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make my task list and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do my task list. And I don't care if I sign one person. I'm just going to be proud that if someone on my team comes to me or even double checks my stuff, I can be like, yep, I did it all too. But I took the timeline off. Well, here's what happened. About 6 weeks later, 8 weeks, it went crazy around here. It took about 6 to 8 weeks. Now, TikTok, I started in January. The floodgates really took off in like August, September, and then it exploded in November. But did you hear that? January to August before I saw a difference in my Instagram because of it. Some people will do 2 weeks and, oh, it's not working for me. I was like, no, it's on my task list. So I'm just going to keep doing it no matter what. So I would say that do that as well, is change your focus to like, this is how I'm getting paid, even though you know you're not, because you will get paid for it. I promise.
Oh, Britt, this is so good. Like, so I have so many takeaways. I have so many things I want to implement. Like, this is really, really good. And I know I speak for everybody. So we're going to get wrapped up, but there's just one final question that I have for you. And it's just, with everything that you've said about how you switched that mindset and the differences that you made, let's just say someone's sitting on here and they know they need to make that switch too. How do they prepare for that? What do they do waking up tomorrow morning to say, this is my day one. Now I'm going to sign the new people that don't know the old me that doesn't follow through. From today on, you know, I'm the person that does follow through. I'm the person that is consistent. I'm the person that does all the things. What do we get set in place? What do we do to just make tomorrow our day one?
Yeah. So what I would say is, and this is what I did, I became very clear with what I wanted and who I wanted to become. So like, what did I want to look like? And I don't mean physically, I just mean like, what did I want to look like? In a perfect world, if I didn't have obstacles, if I didn't have struggles, if I like in a perfect world, what would I have? What would I look like? What would my day look like? And I became very crystal clear with that. And then I 100% followed through with what I said I was going to do. Because the second that you don't follow through, so actually, let me go back into this. My word for 2020 was follow through. But with that, here's how it worked. If I said it, I followed through. If I thought I wouldn't follow through, I never said I was going to do it in the first place. Because here's what's going to happen. If tonight you get off here and you take the next 20 minutes to write down exactly what you want to look like, and you, excuse my language, BS yourself, knowing that tomorrow you're not going to do it. Well, when you don't, you will tie that bad feeling to this business. This business isn't what makes you feel bad. It's yourself that makes you feel bad. And that was me. Does that make sense? But we tie all this emotion to the business when really it has nothing to do with the business. It has to do with us. And so that's why I would say, like, get crystal clear, but be realistic with yourself. Maybe you say, this is what I want to do. So starting tomorrow, I will implement these 2 things, or I will implement these 3 things. For me, it was implementing the 5 a.m. club. Now, I've been really struggling with it the last 2 weeks, but other than that, like, I've done a really good job. But I'm going to be transparent with you guys. The first 2 months that I did it, during the day, I was nauseous. I was exhausted. Like, it took almost 8 weeks for my body to get used to it. And what's crazy is I was reading the 5 a.m. club, and it actually, like, halfway through it, I wish it would have said it in the beginning of the book, but like halfway or at the end, it tells you, like, you're going to be sick. This is going to be really hard. It's going to be like easy the first couple days and then super hard at like week 4 or 5. I'm like, couldn't you have told me that? Now I'm past it. Like, I wish I would have known that was coming, because I thought I was nuts. I've had a lot of people tell me I'm nuts in the back in the day. So I'm like, man, I really am nuts. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it actually got easier. The reason why, I'm not saying you to see success, you have to implement the 5 a.m. club, but for me, I will tell you, if you were to look at my journal from this year, and like I said, like this is my journal from last year, and like every single day I would get up and write in it, okay? But if you looked at my journal from this year, you will see like some days I write and some days I don't. The days that I don't are the days that I don't get up at 5 a.m. Why? Because this is the first thing, it shouldn't, but this is the first thing that gets put on the back burner once the day gets busy. So like for me, I had to recognize that, like, quit BSing yourself, Brittany. You know you're not going to do it when your kids are up. So quit telling yourself you're gonna journal and do your devotional if the kids are up. You've proven to yourself for 5.5 years you won't. Right? And so that's what I would say is make a plan, be realistic, and start baby stepping and implementing those changes. Last thing, almost get an accountability group with some of your changes. So for me, I'm not proud of this, but I still wouldn't get up for myself at 5 a.m. Even though it's changed my entire life and it's where most of my success came from, I still wouldn't do it. The only reason why I get up, and like I said, last 2 weeks has been rough, but before that, the only reason why I'm in here at 5 a.m. is because I know I have 3 of them. It started with like 25. I think we're like 8 months in, only 3 of them, usually 2, but 3 of them sometimes still show up. So I show up for them. So almost put safeguards in for your excuses. Like you already know where your faults are. Your faults don't have to be a bad thing, but if you don't recognize them, your faults are going to trip you up every time. And so I had to put safeguards in so they didn't trip me up.
Oh, that is so good. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell everyone to watch this recording because I feel like you just gave such practical and useful advice, like so much wisdom and so much fire, which you always bring, but there was so much practical, useful advice that I feel like equipped to implement, which is a really good feeling to come away from a Zoom with. I
probably shouldn't say this, but maybe I should do more trainings when like I'm struggling because you got like a calm version. Normally I'm like, woo, like super hyped. It's just like, I can't find the hype, but I still feel like I want to help. I'm like, maybe I should like tap into this, the calmer side of Brittany.
Well, I think we feel hyped up. So that felt good for us. And I mean, you're in the right place to be a little more laid back. We're real laid back around here. So this is perfect.
Some of your team are probably like, this was laid back. Oh, guys, you have no idea. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Brittany. I just appreciate you taking this time and doing the extra Zoom for us. It really means a lot. And thank you guys for being on and for hanging out. And I just love watching everyone's how it rolls in the chat. So I'm going to send the chat to you, Britt, whenever I get it done, because I want you to be able to read it. So, all right. Good night, friends.